Welcome, Abby. I'm so
Hi.
excited that you are going to share all about your journey today. Thank you for
Oh,
taking time with us.
thank you so much for this. I'm very excited.
Ooh, awesome. Well, let's dive in. So, the other day I was listening to a podcast and I heard this great quote that reminded me that we've had to have said yes to something to be able to be where we're at today. So I've been ruminating on this question, especially in significant moments of like, what did I say yes to that allowed me to be right here? And so I'm curious for you, what did you say yes to that allowed you to be in your journey right where you're at right now? And it could be something big or small.
Goodness. I feel like the image in my mind is like a fork in the road. It's like, where was the fork in the road where you went left instead of right,
Yes.
And the initial fork in the road, I think, if I'm piecing this together right, was saying yes to being a stay-at-home mom, actually. 10 years ago, when my first baby was born, I quit my job. I was a supervisor at a customer service department of an insurance company. So it was basically a call center. And I decided I wanted to be home full time with my baby. And that allowed me the flexibility when my second baby was born a year and a half later to fully dive in, because as you know, and the people watching might not know, my second daughter was born with a bunch of heart defects that required open heart surgery 4 times in her first year. And we basically lived out of the Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia. So,
oh my gosh. And you're based in Washington. So that's really far away.
So we were living an hour out of Philadelphia at the time.
Okay.
And
good.
So
I was like, oh my
she
gosh.
was, yes, it's a whole story, but the elevator story is that, so she was born in January of 2014. It was a very intense year that kicked off the year. She was diagnosed the day after she was born. We emergency evacuated her basically to Philadelphia, to a children's hospital in North Philly. And she got her, her stuff done, recovered from her open heart surgery, came home when she was 6 weeks old, had to go back into emergency surgery in May, again in July, again in November. And in that same year, my husband was laid off from his job permanently. My grandmother died. My sister got married. My best friend got married, and I missed the wedding because Evelyn was crashing, going into another surgery at the same time. And so we ended up,
and you had a 1.5-year-old running around.
Yeah, so I had a healthy toddler needing all the needs and doing all the things, because 1-year-olds are very busy. and then October of that year, as we're going through all of this, we were in a car accident, all 4 of us. It was a week after I found out I was pregnant with baby number 3. And my husband's head is what smashed the driver's side window and shattered it. So he had a traumatic brain injury and was very confused immediately after, but couldn't drive after that, and was basically in a dark room for about 2 years. So
oh my gosh.
Because of that and all of the things, we were like, something has to change. So we ended up moving. This was the next major fork in the road, was we decided to move to Spokane, where my husband's family all lives, so we could get the help. And that brought us across the country. I did it all by myself because my husband couldn't help with me being pregnant, our special needs daughter with all of her oxygen and feeding a tube equipment on the stroller, and my healthy daughter on my hip. We looked a mess, and Southwest Airlines is the best. Just gotta say, I'm very biased, but they were the best. That again was another fork in the road where we're going to move across the country. This seems crazy, but doors kept opening. And when we first got married, we wanted to move to Spokane originally. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. And the doors kept closing to move across the country. But then they magically opened in this crazy, chaotic situation. But then that brought me to Spokane. That brought me to eventually to the collective and grant writing. And I don't even know what would have happened. Yeah. And to my kids' school where I freelance grant righted for them. And trying to find good resources, found the collective through that. So it's been a crazy journey, but I'm glad, like I'm grateful for all of it. It makes for a really fun story.
Fun and so vulnerable. And I think like I just appreciated from the moment that you came into our world, you have been vulnerable about what you have accomplished and what you have gone through and the hurdles that you have like jumped through, climbed out of, all the things. I mean, it's really remarkable. And so thank you. Thank you for always sharing your stories.
I feel like we need to share our stories just as people in general. And like, I don't know, I truly believe like God gave me this story and I need to share it with people because there are other people with issues and hard things going through their life. And if they don't see other people have gone through hard things and made it through, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Life does eventually stabilize, or even if it doesn't, it's okay because we have each other and we can share and know it's going to be okay.
I heard this great quote actually on, can you tell I'm a podcast junkie, on a podcast on Sunday that said, sometimes in those dark moments, we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if we pause for a second, the tunnel gets a little bit brighter and we adjust our sight to see within. And it was good. Like, yes. I mean, isn't it just like we do? Because probably when you're in that moment of driving across and you have, you're feeding one kid internally, you're feeding two other kids in different ways, right? You adjusted your light so that you could see in the place that you were at, even if you didn't see the light at that end of the tunnel. I mean,
because when you're going through that kind of thing, it really is only like 1 hour, sometimes even 1 minute at a time, like one step in front of the other. That's all you can focus on. Otherwise you'll go crazy and not be able to function.
You never move.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So what brought you into grant writing? Why did you want to learn about it? How did you get involved? Tell me a little bit.
Yeah. So I knew this question was probably going to come up. So I made notes. So, so what brought me into grant writing? It's circled. I feel like there's just circle after circle. It comes back around. So when my oldest daughter, Brooke, was a baby, again, my husband was working at a different school than he is at now in Pennsylvania. It was beautiful. We were in Amish country and we could hear horses and buggies just like clip-clopping down the street. And he said, "You would be a good grant writer." And I said, "What is that?" He's like, "Well, you like filling out forms," which it's the nerdiest thing, but I really like forms. Anytime I go to like a government office or like have to fill something out, I'm like, oh, goody, I can check boxes. It's so satisfying. It's very satisfying. So
this is maybe my most fun fact about you now.
Yeah, I don't know who else. Somebody out there has to love forms
I'm
too.
sure.
Please reach out if you do. So I'm not alone. But so I just like, and I always liked, I don't know, getting A's in school and like doing the right things. I like following rules, knowing that I'm getting positive feedback, which is really hard to do as a mom because, you don't get like a performance review at the end of the year.
They don't do yearly check-ins with you?
Right. No, they don't. There's a lot of criticism on whatever food that you made, and it's not the same thing. So anyway, he suggested freelance grant writing for the school. And I said, no, I'm not sleeping. I can't do this right now. But it ended up being like kind of in the back of my mind, like, this is an option. This is an option. And so I ended up circling back to that with the school. So just so everybody knows, he did end up getting 2 neurosurgeries and like making almost a full recovery. Wow. So he's able to work and Yeah. It's
Okay.
like his, apparently the car accident like knocked his brainstem into like his cerebral or tonsils. It took like
Oh,
cut off the
okay.
cerebrospinal fluid to his
Okay.
brains, like
Huh.
spine and brain. So they had to like carve out the back of his C1 vertebrae and like the back of his skull and kind of like patch it up so that his fluid can move freely. It
I'm
was fine.
so glad you
It's
moved to
cool.
have family.
You
I
know, right?
so you could have your support system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really all about support systems. But anyway, so he ended up getting a job at a new school and saying, again, you should really grant write. And then I tried it out and worked with the development director there and kind of worked with nonprofits in the area and got them set up with a couple of grants that felt really good. I was like, I'm helping people. This is amazing. So I wanted to keep doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. So then you crossed into our ether as you were kind of doing research
Mhm.
on wanting to hone your expertise, probably.
Yeah.
And then only what? You joined us in August. No, August of last year, July of last year,
July
July
of
of last
last
year.
year. It was right around
And
4th of July. I remember
okay.
that.
And then after a phenomenal dance in her unicorn onesie, right? You were wearing a onesie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's on our Instagram if you want to go check
Please look
that
it
out.
up. It's
It's
awful.
it's phenomenal.
It's it's awesomely bad.
It's so good. So you joined us right after that in July, and then 6 months later, January, right?
January.
You got the job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us about this journey and the job.
So yeah, I was not looking for a job. I was like full on going to try the freelance, build my own business thing. And it, uh, it was working with the school and I was like doing informational interviews and building my network and it was super fun. And at the same time I was going to school. So I
Okay.
ended up
Yes, that's right.
dropping out of college at 20 to get married like a crazy person. And then we had kids and did all the stuff. So I ended up finally, once life slowed down and stabilized a little bit, I was like, maybe I should finish that degree that my Asian mom was very upset at me for quitting in the middle of. Very upset. So I ended up
Do you have her
finishing up.
forgiveness now?
Yes. Yeah. I have grandkids and a degree for her. So I'm like presenting them to her. It's okay now. She lives with me. So it's all
Oh,
is
that's
forgiven.
so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. My
That's
parents
really
ended up retiring and moving across the country to live with us and help us. And that's how I was raised with my grandparents in the house. So I just love our multi-generational household. But yeah,
that's
so
a whole other podcast
that's a whole
episode or
nother
YouTube
thing.
that we could dive into
Oh
and how
yeah.
that helps. Anyway, okay. Yay. So
Yes,
cool. All right.
family support. I mean, we moved here for family support and then we got extra, I don't know. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Anyway, it's wonderful. So what was the question again?
Okay. So you weren't looking for a job. You weren't
Oh,
you
I wasn't
got your
looking
degree.
for a job.
Yeah.
I got my degree. I finished out an English degree at Washington State University
Very cool.
online while having 4 kids at home, COVID, and freelancing and, whatever, a house.
I hope you have time to breathe now. Do you breathe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have my tea. It's wonderful. I breathe. I don't listen to anybody talking while I'm driving to and from work. And
Yay.
it's just quiet, like a miracle. So I finished out my degree. I was going to do freelancing, and not a month later after graduating, did I get this email from an engineering firm saying, "Hey, would you like to interview for a job?" Like, I didn't apply for no job. So what is this job? What is this? They sent in the job description. Lo and behold, I had watched, okay, again, circling back around. I had watched Anna Noble's, her name was Anna Tuig in the Unicorn Spotlight interview.
Yeah.
I'd watched her Unicorn Spotlight before I was ever part of the collective. And she talked about how she worked at an engineering firm. And don't you know, I'm interviewing suddenly for her old job in Spokane. I knew she was in Spokane. I had no idea what engineering firm she was part of.
Oh my
So
gosh.
apparently Meredith had like connected
Mhm,
this
mhm.
engineering firm. She knew I was in Spokane. So she's just a master connector and
Master connector.
put us together. And I was like, I came home from the interview and told my husband, if it's not this job, it's no job. Like there's just no other job for me right now. I'm either freelancing or I'm doing this job.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got here.
Oh my God,
Basically.
I loved it. In your office.
In this office.
So how is the job? What I know
Yeah.
you've tackled a couple of big projects and hit some cool milestones in the last now 6 months, I guess, of being in the job. Yeah.
Yeah, or so it's been crazy. It was I feel like the learning curve wasn't nearly as steep as it should have been or could have been because of all of the amazing education and the course.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was getting into, sort of. The job's been good. I did put in the last week, we're finishing up our 5th application. So one CDBG application for $987,000.
Oh my God.
And that was my first CDBG application. It was very exciting. I loved the whole process.
Right.
Community block development grant.
Perfect.
Through the Washington State Department of Commerce.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm making some friends there at that department, and
nice, good, critical.
Seeing application development and all the project management stuff that you talk about is like so relevant. I've been using Asana. I set up my Asana within like the first week of starting this job. It was just like, well, there's a million projects going on, so I'm going to make them projects in Asana.
Yes.
And I showed everybody I work with. I'm like, look, a unicorn shoots across the screen. It's amazing. Delightful.
Like, okay.
Yeah, they're like, all right, well, if that works for you. Like it totally does. It's positive reinforcement.
It is positive reinforcement.
Yes. So then we've also got, we've finished out 4 Department of Transportation grants last week. And then we're working on finishing out our 5th one. No, our 5th total, our 4th Department of Transportation grant is today. So we're going to finish that out today, submit it in. And yeah, it's like, it's been a crazy ride. And it's like, I'm actually working. It's weird.
It's amazing.
It's really weird. It's amazing. I love working.
Good. So is it weird to have transitioned from, I mean, you were freelancing a little bit and going to school. So it was a little bit like you had a separate life or separate identity a little bit outside of being stay-at-home mom. But was that transition rough?
Yeah. And well, and I also in there, in, you know, my spare time, I got my massage license and was working just like once a week as a massage therapist. And that was part of the transition to grant writing, was like, I specifically wanted to go back to school to get my degree, to kind of bolster my resume towards grant writing specifically, because in my mind, I kept thinking, you know, COVID shut everything down. And I knew, you know, whether or not this COVID thing lets up, I can put my hands on one person at a time and help one person at a time with massage. But with a grant, I could help hundreds or even thousands of people with one document that I write. And that was like, wait, what? I can like exponentially help people? That's so motivating. So yeah,
I love that.
Again, it's, I don't know. Anyway, I was going somewhere with that thought, I'm sure.
Oh, was the transition rough? So you had
the transition was rough. It actually wasn't. I like, you know how like you see a friend after a decade and it's like no time has gone past. It was like that with working. Like I came back to like, oh, I remember doing these things. I remember getting up and, you know, having my coffee and commuting into work. And it's like no time has passed. And I missed working in an office. I missed working with people. And like just having just conversations and getting to know people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, so cool. Okay. You have had a million different proudest accomplishments, I'm sure. But what is, if you had to pick one, what is your proudest accomplishment on this grant writing journey of yours?
Um, Honestly, my proudest moment was when in my interview for this job, when I looked him straight in the face and I said, this is exactly what my ideal situation is. And I felt like such a grown up. Like I put that imposter syndrome, Abby, in my back pocket and was like, okay, you're not here right now. And
Yeah.
I remembered that like you can just ask and it's okay. And I had nothing to lose at the time, really. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't need this job. I didn't apply for this job. It was
Yeah.
like, this is what I want. This is the schedule I want. I want to be able to drop off my kids at school and pick them up. I want this work life, like
Yeah.
home balance. And they said, okay. And I was like, what? I just laid it all out there and you were okay with it. And I'm not like being shunned or like I security walked away from the building. It's okay. Like, it's okay. I could ask for what I wanted. So
Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
it was a very proud moment for me.
Yeah,
I just
100%.
asked. Yeah.
Ah, so do you have any tips for how did you help yourself put imposter syndrome, Abby, into your back pocket?
I don't know. You just like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. Right. Like we read,
Yeah, in the book club book.
we read that in our grant writing unicorn collective book club read a few months ago, the 5-second rule
Mhm.
by Mel Robbins. Right. And I've implemented that. And I
Nice.
also
Okay.
taught my kids the high five,
Oh,
like
nice. Yeah, yeah.
yourself in the mirror every time they do something awesome. I'm like, go high five yourself in the mirror. You just did that. Um,
Oh, I'm sure they love
so,
that.
oh yeah, it's super fun. But yeah, putting imposter syndrome, Abby, like setting you aside right
Yeah.
now. I feel like that's like some therapy
Yeah.
along this journey
Yeah.
has helped. And yeah, just doing it, just saying it. It's
Yep.
they're words. It's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
The
I'm
worst they
also
can say is no.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that you did a tip in there that you may not have even noticed you did, but you made yourself a third person, which
Mm,
is a tip to separate out negative thoughts and positive thoughts to say,
yep.
like, oh, Abby is thinking X, right? And then you can kind of separate it out because you're putting yourself in the third person. So I like that you
Yeah.
put imposter syndrome, Abby, away, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally something I learned in therapy. It was like,
Nice.
this
Yes.
is
It is, yes. Me
yeah.
too. Oh, awesome. Okay, so let's go into rapid fire questions.
Okay.
What's one word to describe your dream lifestyle?
Full.
Nice. Next vacation spot.
Ooh, camping with the family in the woods somewhere.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, The Alchemist by
Hello.
Paulo Coelho, and Solaris by Stanislav
Okay.
Lem. He wrote The Martian. Um, Several other things, but those are on my bookshelf right now. And the last book in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, Hero of Ages.
All right. Well, you've given me two
It's
to look
a
up.
fantasy series. He's prolific and super fun. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yay.
all
I'm
fiction.
like, yeah, you have the scale.
Mhm.
Very cool. Okay, so last TV show you binged.
This Is Us. I had to catch up.
Nice.
So I think I'm all caught up now. But yes, crying. I need an excuse to cry sometimes. And then
Oh,
it
I
just
kind of
comes
like
out.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I might try
It
that.
just, yeah.
Okay, and this question, 6, what is your superpower?
Oh my gosh, my husband says this. So this is my husband's voice in my head saying your superpower is making people feel special. Like you can remember things about people
Mm,
that they said they like their coffee a certain way
yeah.
2 years ago, and you come in with coffee just made their way, or black because they always like it black or whatever it is.
Ah,
I'm like, yeah, that's John Gottman, who I don't know if you know who Dr.
yes,
John
yeah.
Gottman is.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
love everything he ever wrote. Like I will read
Yes.
it.
Yep.
He has a quote that says, you don't have to be interesting, you have to be interested,
Yeah.
something like that. And
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I love that too. Yeah, he So he's the founder of the Gottman Institute, right? Him and his wife. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
So when I was looking at how they were founded, he basically did informational interviews, but he did it dating wise. So before he met his wife, he went on a bajillion first dates, like just a million. And he loved them because he found it so fascinating to see what made people click together, what didn't make people click together.
Yeah.
And he genuinely loved getting to know all of these different women. And it's kind of like informational interviewing, right? He did this whole thing. And that's actually what became the basis of then the research, right? The foundation to
Yeah.
which the research could then grow in a more obviously structured and methodical way. But I found that fascinating that that's
so
actually what
interesting.
got his juices flowing on one of the
Mhm.
most respected, I think, marriage, I don't know
Yeah,
what you call it, help
experts.
tools. Yeah,
Yeah.
experts. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And that's like, I don't know. I just feel like this collective journey and in a lot of these interviews, it comes back to like, this has always been who we are, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like all skills are transferable. It's
Yeah.
like, have you always been interested in helping people? Have you always been interested in learning more or
Yeah.
project-based work
Yes.
or a certain niche nonprofit type or something like that? Like you can
Yeah.
use that. That's just part of, your DNA. It's in there. Just use it.
Exactly. Use it. Yeah, I think just recognizing it. One of the activities that I love to do is writing down all the things that you're good at, because
Mhm.
you'll recognize how many of those things apply to any
Yeah.
number of careers, but even, other things that you want to do in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Okay. All right. Last question to everyone out there who's debating about going for their dream or learning a new skill. What would you tell them?
Go for it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just count it down and do it.
Yeah.
Because like the worst thing that can happen is the door slams in your face.
Mm, yeah.
And like, I am just such a firm believer that God is really good at closing doors in our faces. And that's just not the door to go through. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
moving out to Spokane, 8 years ago or whatever was a thing, whereas it wasn't 15 years ago. And I just took some time, or even if that would never have happened, that's okay. There's other doors that will open as you move forward.
Yep. Take
Like,
action. Mhm.
yeah, just take action. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you're not moving anywhere, you're not moving anywhere. You
Yeah.
got to move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you are an inspiration, a super mom 100%, and a super
Thanks.
grant writer. I cannot wait to see where you are in a year. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
incredible. And watching you go through all of this and hearing your story, it just is really humbling and really beautiful. So thank you for sharing so much about your journey.
Thank you for letting me share, and
Yeah,
allowing
you're
it.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, well, we'll talk soon. Thanks so much.
Yes. Okay. Bye.
Bye.